Greetings, Earth enthusiasts. If you ever wondered about the incredible perspectives our planet has to offer from high above, you're in the right place. I am Dr. Clive Coetzee, and I'm thrilled to be your guide on this captivating journey into the world of remote sensing. Welcome. And please remember to like, subscribe to, and share this video. Thank you.
Cool. So in tutorial 191, we started with the OTB machine learning tool for image classification. Remember, you used up to now, we used, I think, 3 or 4 different tools. This is, I think, the 5th tool, if I'm correct. Oh, this, yeah, the 5th tool. Yeah, I think it's the 5th tool that we're using now. We've got one more to do, using spectral signatures. So remember, these tools that we've used so far only focus on spectral signatures. And we're going to get to object-based classification a bit later, but these are all spectral signature-based classification tools. And this one is specifically the OTB. So in this particular video tutorial, we just basically went through the process because there's different steps, and in these steps there is parameters, etc., etc. So we didn't actually do a classification. So let's actually do a classification using the OTB machine learning tool. Okay, so please remember, before we proceed, please feel free to subscribe, share the video, like the video, comment on the videos, etc., etc. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything, it means the world to me. It helps me tremendously. So please, please, please press those buttons. Also, feel free to follow me on Facebook. We're doing some short videos, etc., etc. So yeah, that's my primary 2 channels or tools, social marketing tools. So please, yeah, I appreciate you joining me on this journey. So let's go to QGIS. There's our true color image of my region of interest. It's bands. It is bands 2, 3, and 4. But remember, in the stack raster, this is a stack raster, all 12 bands are added here. So I'm doing the image classification using all 12 sentinel bands. And this is for the winter. You can see the nice green. It is here, so that's a winter image. Remember, for my issue with bare soils, I tend to use winter images. And then there's my trainings file in shape file, and we also have a training in the raster file. Because certain tools use it in a shapefile format, others use it in a raster file format. Anyway, there's our training sample, training file as well. Okay, so let's go to the OTP. Remember, OTP sits within our processing toolbox. So it's located there. There it's OTP, arterial something something. Pronunciations has never been my strong point, so please excuse me for if I don't correctly pronounce it. OTB. In the previous video, I go into length and how to install it, etc., etc. Okay, so now we've got the OTP. Remember, we're going to machine learning. There it sits. So just click on that little forward sign. And then in learning, remember, there's 3 steps. We first do the image statistics, then we train the classifier, the image classifier, and then we classify. So remember, that's just 3 steps, and our previous video tutorial basically goes through all these steps, the ins and outs of each of these steps, what the steps do, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so let's do the classification. So first thing is we must create the image statistics for our stacked raster. So I'm going to click on Compute Image Statistics, double left click. And remember, I'm selecting my stack raster. So I need to go to my stack rasters. There's my stack raster. Background value, leave as is. And we're going to save it. Now, please remember, if you can still remember, there's an important part here. We have to save it as an XML file. Okay, we have to specify that in the name of the file that we're going to do. Okay, you can't just say the name, has to have the specifications. Okay, so we're going to go to saved file. I'm going to my project folder. It's at some point image classification. So I'm going to say, you see, it gives you all files. It doesn't specify a TIFF of a that or a that or this. So we have to type it in. So we're going to say it's OTB. We don't even have to say that. So I'm just going to say Sentinel stack stats. Remember, then I must say .xml. Okay. So there's my Sentinel stack stats, and it's .xml. Remember, you have to do this part here, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay. I'm not going to test drive it, but you'll see if you don't do it or it's wrong, you'll see the consequences. Okay. So, and we save and we run. Doesn't take too long. It's normally quite quick. There's the stats, compute stats, default, blah, 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 blah. And algorithm is finished. Okay. So that's it for image statistics. We don't have to do that again. That's now done and done for this. If we use a different stack, image stack, band stack, then obviously we have to redo the image statistics. But as long as we use this specific stack raster or band stack, then we don't have to redo the image classification every time we do a classification because it's already calculated. So that's what we do once. Okay, now most probably the most crucial step, the most vital step, where most of the parameters are located. Okay, where most of the parameters are located. So we have to go and train our image. Okay, we have to go and train our image. So let's go to our train image classifier. Okay, train image classifier. Double left click, and here is the extended list of all the ins and outs. We're going to keep the first image classification very straightforward. And then, as I said, it's up to each person to start playing around with the parameters to see whether there's any material differences, etc. Okay, our image list, again, our stack raster. So we can find it. There's our stack raster. And there we go. Input vector data list. Now that's our training file. That's our training file. Okay, so that's our training file, validation, vector data, that we leave alone. And you see here's our image statistics. Although it says optional, please include it. So we're going to go to our classification. We're going to go and look for that file, and there it sits. It's classification stats. Let's just make sure that it is. Why does it? So why does it? It says it's a HTML document. It mustn't be an HTML document. It must be an XML document. So why is it giving me it's a X? It's a. Okay, so let's quickly just. I'm just not going to close it. I'm just going to go back to image statistics. And I'm going to select it. Let me just redo that. Maybe I just had an error somewhere. Leave that out. File. And I'm going to say Sentinel stack stats dot XML. And let's save it. Says it already exists. Let's run it again. There it goes. XML. It is generated. So let's go there and open it. Okay, so I don't know why it's showing me it's an HTML document. It looks like HTML, but it's actually there. It sets the XML. Temporary files cleaning, you can leave as is. Maximum training sample, leave as is. Then, as I said, these parameters I'm going to leave for now. This training and validation sample, similar to the previous Well, as I presented in the previous video tour, I normally have a 80 to 20% or 80-20 rule. 80% for the training and 20% for the validation, meaning 80% of the pixels will be used to generate the classification and 20% will then be used to evaluate the classification. 70-30 may be the minimum. I wouldn't go less than 70-30. The less pixels you use, the less reliable the image classification. So you don't want to use too little of the pixels or locations to do your classification. Okay, then within our, remember we have specified here our training file. Now we need to say within our training file which column do we need to use for the classification, and it is ID, because remember it is the numerical numbers that we're using. DM, now we're going to do classification with and without the DEM. But for now, I'm leaving the DEM out of it because we haven't yet loaded a DEM. But it gives you the option to load the DEM, so which is always nice. Okay, so we're leaving the DEM. Default elevation, we leave as is. And here for now, I'm just going to leave all these things as is as well. Classifier to be used, within that classifier, the type, the model, cost parameters, gamma, I'm just going to leave everything as is. Now I said there's a whole lot of parameters here that you can play around with. But for now, this is going to be our first classification using the OTB classifier. So for now, I'm just leaving it is as is. Okay, the important stuff is done. So let's leave it. Let's save it. Save our random seed. I'm not too sure cost parameters. I'm not too sure what these things imply, but let's leave it for now. I'm not going to worry about, let's save it. I'm not going to worry about the confusion matrix. Let's save the output model. Save as. Remember, this is also an XML. Remember, I'm not doing the classification here. We're just generating the model. Okay, so there's also XML. So remember that, 2 XML files. Now, so I'm not going to say Sentinel stack. So I'm going to go, remember now, so let me just go back to the parameters so that we, come on. You have to be careful with these things. So there's nothing there. So it's going to be, these three will have to be in my, let's see if I can make this a bit bigger. Okay. There we go. Save model. Okay. Save model. Okay. So I'm just going to say it's I'm just going to say OTB classification. Okay. It's the OTB. And then I'm going to say it is underscore lib svm lib svm underscore linear underscore c svc, and there's no DM, so that's it. Then I'm going to go .xml. Okay, so I'm trying to be as specific as possible because then I know what my parameters is if I want to go back. Because what I want to do, I want to generate this and then with or without an DM file and then see what it looks like. Okay, so we're going to go save. Save. Okay, there it sits. Let's have a look and see if what's happening here at the background. Don't like it when things are not. And then let's run it, because now we're just generating the model, and we're gonna run. And let's see, it is done. There is all there's the confusion matrix. All done. Okay, so let's close it. So first two steps done and dusted. We've done the stats. We've done the training. Now we're going to classify. So we're going to do image classifier. So there's my stack raster. So make sure it's the right one. Got two, doesn't matter. Input mask, we leave that alone. Model file, that's the file that we just generated. That's that XML file that we just generated. I don't know why it's giving me this thing, but anyway, it's there's my model. There's my statistics. I add that as well. So there's my stack raster. There's step 1. There's step 2. Now, number of classes in the model, optional. It gives me 20 here, so let's leave it as is. Let's leave that as is. Float, leave that as is. And output image, confidence map, probability map. So let's save all of these ones. Okay, so save to file. We're going to say OTB class. See, now I actually need all that other stuff. So let's quickly just go into my classification. I'm going to go rename. And I'm just going to copy these ones. And in this case, we have, and I'm going to make underscore 20 because of the number of classes. The rest I keep the same. You see here, it assumes it's a TIFF, not all files. So that's sorted. Confidence map. So let's go to save file. Let's use OTP, and it is classification, and let's say it is underscore confidence map, and then probability map. Let's go and say it's also, and let's change that and make that underscore probability. Let's make this classify. Yeah, let's classify. Let's make that underscore image confidence probability. Okay, so let's open. Let's keep it cool like that. Is that it? And once you're happy with it, let me save everything before. If it bombs out, then I haven't lost anything. Make sure it's gonna go up there. So let's say run. And let's see. Okay, gives me some, doesn't support it, blah, blah, blah. Let's go parameters. I'm just going to keep it for now, okay? So I'm not going to close it. Okay, so let's kick that. So what have we've got? We've got the classification. There it sits. There's my image classification. Let's go to properties. Let's give it the style. Load the style. Remember, it's in one of the previous video tutorials, I went through the style, how to do that. I think it was, what was it now? We need to find it. Can't remember what it was called now. Here we go. I think is it 2? Let's open it and see if it works. Oops, that doesn't look right. So I think that's the wrong style. So let's quickly go to, yep, that's the wrong style. So we're going to go style, load style. And we're going to go find the correct style. I think this was number 1. Oops, where do we are now? There we go, T class 1. Load style, close. There it is. There's our first classification. Now again, it's got this blue background, which is basically water, but I've shown you how we can sort that out. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. 1 to 6. Again, quite a bit of red, which is problematic a bit. Got the green stuff, got the river. Okay, looks right. Just for interest sake, before I go, well, okay, so there's our first image classification. And that's the reason why I kept it open, is to change that. So I'm not sure why it didn't open. Let me see if it has. Why is it not opening these things? Okay, let's quickly remember we have number of classes in the model. So let's remember we've got 6 classes. So let's change that to 6 and see if it changes. So let's make that 6 and see if there's a fundamental difference between the two if we make that 6. The rest I'm leaving as is. So that's why it's nice not to close it, because if you close it, you have to redo all these things. So keep this open, this window open, and then it's easy. Otherwise, if I've closed it, I have to redo all these things and you forget about it. So I've kept it open. So let's run it. It says image class map requested, but the classifier doesn't support it. So it doesn't want to support the confidence and the probability, and I don't know why. I don't know why. Open up. Because we did allow the 80-20 rule. Maybe because it's a float. I don't know. We'll have to play around. Again, I'm not going to close this. I'm going to keep it open. And let's see. It's got 1 to 6, 1 to 6. Doesn't seem like that parameter is making a hell of a big difference. But anyway, before we jump the gun, let's quickly just do the classification, load style. Close, close, okay. Let's have a look. Exactly the same. Absolutely no difference. So pick one. I'm going to stick with the 6 because we have 6 classes. So remove layer. So I'm going to do with the 6. I'm going to keep the 6. So there's our first image classification. And let me just quickly go in here and say sort. And let's go back to sort date. You see, there's the TIFF, but it doesn't generate the probability and it doesn't generate the confidence one. And I don't know. Okay, so that could be a specific reason for that. So that's our first image classification using our OTB method or OTB tool. As I said, as long as we use, let me save, as long as we use the same raster, stack raster, band stack, we don't have to continuously do the image statistics. That's done for that one. So if we want to do a second one, we'll have to do the training again, redo the training. So what I tend to do is I keep this window open and I keep the image classifier, this window open, so that I keep the parameters. Then I don't have to go and redo and redo and redo and redo. So that's just a little handy tip from my side, is especially if you want to do a number of classifications, don't close it. Keep it open, and then you just change the parameters that you want to change, but the rest stays exactly the same. And then, as I said, be specific in terms of your naming these images, because there's so many parameters. Remember, once we've done it, we're going to obviously update our spreadsheet. While I'm doing this, let me just remember, we've got the Tut192, we've done 4 classifications in Tut192. The classifier, again, we've done 4 in the classification. We've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 classifications. And the neural network, we've done 1, 2, 3. Now with OTP, we'll see how many of them we're going to do, but we're going to keep on updating it. And then at the end of the day, we're going to see how these things compare with one another. So that's ultimately is to update the spreadsheet and to show the classification within each of the methods, within each of these tools, I said, so we can try to rank them, etc., etc. So that's our first image classification within OTB. As I said, there's much more options in this specific tool than the previous tools. As I said, however, a lot of these options I showed you now between the 20 and the 6. When we did the classifier, we did the 20 and the 6. It made absolutely no difference. So I think this, where it says optional, to be very honest, I doubt that it makes any difference. Nonetheless, that's my assumption. I can't for 100% say it's always the case, but I just showed you if I make this 20 and 6, there's fundamentally no difference between it. Remember, once I've done this, once I've done the classification, I'm going to go to unique raster layers. Oops. Unique raster layers. I'm going to select this and then I'm going to run it. And then there's my data. I basically just copy this data into my spreadsheet. Copy data. And then I'm going to basically, remember, one is water. This is water. So you'll see that in this case, water is a hell of a lot compared to water. It should be small. So remember, they all have the same 0 values. So I must subtract that from this value to get the true one, etc., etc. Okay, so just remember that we done in the previous video tutorials, but we'll get back to this just to show you how we get to the true water. Because if I go in here, I cannot exclude one properties, because if I exclude one, apply, you'll see it excludes this water as well. So I cannot exclude one. So let's go back to style, load style, and let me find it. There we go, open, load style, close, close, okay, close. So I cannot exclude this background because it's also 1. Okay, so I could have just used this. You'll see that's 1, 1, 1, and then there as well is 1. So unfortunately, I can't exclude it visually, but I can exclude it here because we know that the zeros are all exactly the same. You'll see the 0 values are exactly the same. So if I know the 0 values and I know where the 0 values are included in 1 here, I can subtract, and that gives me the true value of my water. And the rest is exactly as is. Okay, so let me quickly save that. I'll do that. And yeah, let me just go back to OTP. Let me just close that. There's my OTP. There it is. And there is my learning. Cool. So in the next video, we're going to play around a little bit on developing with 4 or 5 more. And I also want to see if I can bring a DM. So we're going to generate, use this model because we've the classification because we've already done it. Then I'm going to include a DM and see how the two differs. Whether including DM adds value or basically is also trivial and not really significant. And again, but there's lots of options we can play around. As I said, you can play around for a long period of time. we're just going to do a couple of them, and that's basically that. Okay. Thank you for joining me. And yeah, please remember to like, subscribe, share, ring the bells, and just enjoy, have fun. And I'll see you on the other side.